let's get to this show. And look, I know I had a bit of a crack earlier on about Guyon Espiner 30 with Guyon Espiner. I just, again, like we sometimes talk about the media, it's what we do. This is such a ridiculous concept. 30 minutes, no interruptions, no cuts. I was like, yeah. I mean, don't want to evoke the devil's name, he might turn up. You mean like every News Talk ZB host does when they talk to someone for an hour on their show? You mean like what we do all the time, like what we're about to do with Tamitha, but it's not 30, it's 13. So we're going to call ours 13 uncut. You know, it's just, I mean, like, so we did Rawi and Debbie end of last year. We're going to call that 122. You know, it's just like, whatever, bro. It's just like, it's not, maybe it's a selling point to people who consume mainstream media, because mainstream media is blocked and cut up so much with adverts and is, you know what I mean? Maybe, but I just don't think I don't think this is the selling point you think it is. It's just weird, but it doesn't mean there's not some good informational contents that come from it. So they talked about Zoran Mamdani a bit on this. Guyon has a really strange interviewer, and he asks the same question 6 or 7 times, even when it is answered. I'm all for pushing again when someone doesn't answer a question, but he asks the same question numerous times. There's also something that happens in here that I want us to keep an eye on. This is tonight's turning into a little bit of critiquing the critiquers. I want you to see how Guyon kind of jumps between democratic socialist and socialist. Democratic socialist, you're a socialist. Because they're very different things. And I want us to keep an eye for the next 12 months in particular about commentaries in the media where they either jump to a word that's inaccurate and everyone just seems to accept it, or they slightly miss a fact. I would say mostly on purpose. I'll give you some examples shortly. They slightly miss a fact, and then that becomes the narrative they run with. I'll explain that more after this bit here, but this is only 30 seconds where they're talking about the title Democratic Socialist. And you watch how quickly it goes from a Democratic Socialist to he's a socialist and jumps between the two.
He calls himself a democratic socialist. Is that a label that you would be happy with?
I don't really have a problem with the title. Democrat, socialist, variants of the same thing.
That's you?
People who believe that there is a more active role for the state. Yes, I do.
That's you?
I believe there's a more active role for the state, absolutely.
You happy to call yourself a socialist?
But now he didn't say that, because now what Guyon's just done, whether it's on purpose or not, is he's just given fodder to the right to go, Chris Hipkins calls himself a socialist, because it's not what he said. And there is a big difference between democratic socialist, like everyone in Iceland, and socialist, like lots of people in Venezuela. You know, even that, maybe not quite so much.
I believe there's a more active role for the state, absolutely.
You happy to call yourself a socialist?
People get hung up on the title, but do I believe there's a more active role for the state, which, you know, is a fundamental underpinning of socialism, social democracy? Yes, I do.
So that's not a label that you're frightened of?
Not particularly, no.
See how he says the same thing 4 times? That's you? So you're okay with that? Not afraid of it? So that's you. It's almost like he thinks he's got a bit of a gotcha when I don't think anyone else thinks he does. And you saw what I pointed out about how he flipped so quickly, and he made that switch so very quickly to democratic socialist to social. I'll give you another example, and I'm sorry to do this to you, Whānau, but there was a conversation this morning on the platform with Bob McCoskrie. And this example I want to give you is when someone, and I'm going to say my honest held belief is purposefully, misexplains something. It's basically a defund the police model when they misexplain that. Have a listen to what Bob McCoskrie says about what Zoran Mamdani wants to do in New York with the police.
We've just got to keep pushing on this issue and stop going soft and being apologists for criminals. But the left have always been apologists for criminals. I don't know if you saw that in New York, the new bastion of leftism with their new mayor, that, you know, they're replacing police with social workers now. So that's going to go well, isn't it? Let's watch that space.
Come with me. I've got some counselling to give you, young man.
So the narrative that's been sold is the police are going away and the council workers are coming in, which, of course, from Fox News of all places, When developing the Department of Community Safety proposal, which aims to replace police officers with mental health professionals to deal with non-life-threatening emergencies with a focus on subway stations, Bisgard Church reportedly spoke to mental health experts, public safety officers from other cities, and former New York City Police Department Chief of Department Rodney Harrison. The new department will cost approximately $1.1 billion, according to a campaign proposal on Mamdani's website. So do you see the slight difference there? There's just a slight difference there, Chewie, between gonna replace all the police with social workers and replacing police officers with mental health professionals, right? So that's one category. To deal with non-life-threatening emergencies, that becomes more narrow, with a focus on subway stations. That becomes more narrow still. So specialists in an area where they are going to be of better use than someone with a gun, right? Someone, with a degree in counselling is going to be more effective in that moment, that non-life-threatening moment, than someone who's had 6 weeks, 12 weeks training in police academy with a gun. But what the right do is they go, sure, all the police are going to be gone, and all of this is going to be that. So yeah, it's pretty short. I'm going to share one more thing with you. It's not quite on the same page, but I'll throw it to you, Joe, if you've got anything you want to add to that.
Yeah. Look, I think Bob McCrusty there is verbalizing this for a very specific reason, because there have been conversations about whether New Zealand police need more support from social workers for the types of call-outs that they get. And look, Bob's not involved in this. He's not a cop. So I don't think he realizes that cops would most likely welcome that option.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of cops that know that they're not the right person for someone having a mental health crisis, and that turning up with pepper sprays, batons, and dogs and handcuffs is probably not going to resolve this in a good way.
Yeah.
Cops on the front line, God, some of them, maybe even most of them, know that that's a good thing. And it'll be the same in New York. But yeah, you're exactly right. He is just grinding out the same right-wing talking points of like, oh, they're getting rid of cops and they're going to replace them with drag queens or something. I don't fucking know, but the world's scary.
Yeah, and remember, the example that I wanted to share with us, this is the encouragement for us all, is to keep your eyes open for this. This is not about Bob McCoskey, or this is not about that. It's about, this is the tactic, right? This is what they do. I've got one, I'm going to move on, but there's one thing I wanted to say, because we haven't seen Politikiwi for ages. And I want to say hello to Politikiwi, and can you please get in touch? I need to speak to you about something to do with Discord, because Politikiwi helped us set it up, and I need to speak to you about it. So we haven't seen you for a while. I couldn't find your email details. Apologies to do this in the middle of a live show, but now is the time to do it. And also, honestly, guys, I think Mamdani does better by democratic socialist than just socialist, because he ties it to the Martin Luther King quote. But if I was an academic, if I was being academic, he probably is a social democrat. Find me an email Politikiwi. Long story short is we want to embed Discord into the website, and we need a key, and Politikiwi set up Discord, and I think is the only person that can get us that key from Discord. Sorry, we didn't want to miss that opportunity for Politikiwi to be here for 5 minutes and then gone.
Got it.
Let's go on now. So they talk a little bit about capital gains tax, that sort of thing. They talk a bit about money and all this, and of course, Chippy does basically go, look, our tax policy that we've announced is pretty much set. There's not going to be any other taxes. To which Guyon brings up an interesting point, because if there's not going to be any other taxes, what do they do with tobacco? Because tobacco has had a whole bunch of stuff taken off. Are they going to put it back on? And if they put it back on, is that going to actually be another tax? It's a very small question, very small interaction, but I want to also use this to show you something else that's happening in New Zealand at the moment around tobacco, thanks to this government.
Reverse the tax breaks for tobacco companies, I presume.
I think you could. That's a fairly safe assumption.
So you will raise those taxes again.
Well, that was a tax break to the tobacco companies on the basis of some very, very questionable advice that isn't going to be better for New Zealand's health as a country.
And so you're putting those tobacco companies on notice, or one in particular, that that's going to change?
Yeah, it's one tobacco company that by and large has got the vast bulk of the benefit from that, and that is going to change.
No ifs, no buts, no maybes. That's going to change.
Well, we've said
See what I mean? Asking the same question again. He's answered this. It's not even a challenge. It's like, why are you asking it again? I mean, he's calling it 30 with Guyon Espiner. You could probably do 20 with Guyon Espiner if you didn't repeat all the questions that have already been answered.
Exactly what that looks
15.
like in the fiscal plan. But tax cuts for tobacco companies is inexcusable in the current environment that we're in.
And
So this is what I wanted to show you. And I saw, for credit, I saw Magenta sent this to me today, but I'd seen it floating around already. Under this government, right, here's something for you. And we might have one of the academics on for this tomorrow. Right, I've been speaking to them today. We might go a bit more deeply into it. Aotearoa plummets from second to, ready, 53rd in the global tobacco industry interference index rating. Aotearoa New Zealand, or back on track with big tobacco, Aotearoa New Zealand has experienced a sharp decline in its protection against tobacco industry interference, according to the 2025 Tobacco Industry Interference Index for New Zealand, released by the Cancer Society, ranked second globally in 2023. So in 2023, there was only one country in the world that ranked better for tobacco industry interference. There was only one. New Zealand has fallen to 53rd, reflecting weekend implementation of the World Health Organization's Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. The report attributes this decline to several government actions, including repealing the key smoke-free endgame, no shit, measures, reducing excise tax on heated tobacco products against official advice, and allowing a revolving door between political and tobacco industry roles. We were second in the world, the second safest place in the world to not be impacted by interference from big tobacco. Under this government, and because of this government, this is not one of those things where you can go, oh, it's been sliding for years and they've just continued. No, because of this government and the decisions they made, we've gone from second to 53rd. And as I said, I've emailed a couple of the academics, and we probably will have one of them on tomorrow night to talk to this. Chewie.
Isn't it great to be that brave country that gets ahead of the curve, that blazes a trail that other countries emulate? Yeah, we don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry.
If National was in opposition, and on a worldwide scale, New Zealand dropped from second in the world in anything to 53rd in the world. Well, not anything, anything positive. They went from the second best to the 53rd best. This National Party would be tearing Labour a new one. And they'd be right to. I'm surprised we haven't seen more news about this yet. Perhaps it's going to be leaked out in the next couple of days. I guess the Jevon mix squirty topic is eating up a lot of time at the moment. But this is this government, right? As soon as they cancelled Smoke Free 2025, we were like, holy crap. And we said a year ago that these guys, what's the word I'm looking for? Legacy. These guys' legacy is big tobacco. Big tobacco. Landlords. And there was a third one. I remember right now. That was my American one.
Guns?
Yeah.
Mining.
But big tobacco. Imagine finishing a term and having oil companies who want to drill, and big tobacco be the two groups that are most thankful to you. Like, what kind of term has that been? Anyway, one more clip, and this is quite good because last night we were a bit critical of Chippy when he was talking about Te Pāti Māori kind of as a whole unit being divisive. To give him credit, right, to do props and make sure we're fair, he has a conversation again around Te Pāti Māori, and he does talk about takuta wheres being, the words that he's using are not okay. But also this is a very good response because he does then talk about the turmoil on the other side. It's like this is not just about Te Pāti Māori. This is a political thing, and Te Pāti Māori are not the only ones at the moment who are having strife. Have a listen to this.
Takuta Ferris's comments were very, very offensive to us.
This is when he said that blacks or Asians or Pākehās shouldn't be trying to help someone win a Māori seat.
And that was really alienating for a lot of people. A lot of people who have Toi Tuta Treaty stickers on their car bumpers were saying, is he saying that I have to take this sticker off my car now? You know, there's goodwill. You've got to have goodwill. And unfortunately, those kind of statements just corrode goodwill. And I don't want that sort of sentiment anywhere near any government that I lead.
Well, but you're a...
And that's actually, like, talking about being critical, that's okay, because he doesn't want that sentiment. But what he's saying is that the stuff said by Takuta Ferris, he's not saying that Te Pāti Māori have been divisive, which kind of slipped out last night. But he's saying the stuff that Takuta Ferris said, I'm not going to have anywhere near my government. Completely fair, on point, no problems.
And I don't want that sort of sentiment anywhere near any government that I lead.
Well, but your opponents are going to lump you in with the Māori Party, aren't they? You know exactly how that's going to work, right?
Well,
so how are you going to sequester that?
But look, people who live in glass houses need to be careful at how big a rocks they throw. You've got Winston Peters and David Seymour.
Yes.
Look at the inflammatory comments that they were making before the last election, and Christopher Luxon was quite happy not only to go into government with them, but basically to let them call all the shots in government. I'm not willing to do that. I still think under MMP, you need to respect the voting public's decision, and my goal is to get Labor to the largest share of vote possible.
Sure.
And that doesn't mean that the small parties should then call all the shots.
So is it possible that you would work with New Zealand First and Winston Peters if you were trying to form a government in 2026?
I'll set that out closer to the election. I'll set out which...
He's kind of ruled you out, though, hasn't it? Is that how you take it?
It'll be a principled position, and it'll be based on the compatibility we see with other parties in terms of the program that we want to put before the public.
He's ruled you out, though, hasn't he? He said that he won't work with Labor if Christopher Hipkins is the leader.
Winston Peters is notoriously difficult to deal with, but there's a lot of water to flow under the bridge before the next election.
Have you talked to him?
Yeah, it's interesting, this has got about 30...
nothing to lose.
Well, this has got about 30 seconds. We'll get to the end of it because it's an interesting conversation.
Run into him now and then around the place.
I don't even know him. What do you mean? I don't even know him.
We've always had a very, cordial conversations.
So you don't think it's impossible that you could have a Labor New Zealand First government?
I try and have cordial relationships with everyone across the parliamentary divide. That doesn't mean that I would be going into government with them all, though.
No. Can you answer that final question, though? Is it possible in your head that we could have a New Zealand First Labor government?
I've said that we'll set that out closer to the election.
All right.
So you reckon? Like, I'm not necessarily torn. I'm not totally on board with how he's saying. But you reckoning ruling out today that should be what he does? Because here's the thing, right? This is what I thought. This is what I went through. And I'm not suggesting that we want to have Winston Peters anywhere near a Labor-led government, right? To be first, but let's think about politics. Chippy has said, for example, there is no way there is going to be a wealth tax with us. He's also said Barb Edmonds, it might have been this conference, Barb Edmonds will be the Minister of Finance. If Te Pāti Māori and the Greens got together and they went, we're not going to go into coalition with you unless there's a wealth tax. If they actually said, we're not going to sign on, we're not going to give you supply and confidence, we're not going to do it. And he has the option of either changing something now that he said or having to have another election. What do they do? So I'm just saying that, and I understand what we're going to say about Winston. I get all of this as well, but I also know that if the minor parties really wanted to play hardball, how far could they push it on either side? I mean, we kind of have seen it on the other side, but on either side. So, yeah. But what do you think?
My thoughts are that both major parties should rule out Winston Peters.
Well, they won't.
No, they won't. But this is my view. This is you asked me the question.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. I apologise. I'll shut up.
We heavily criticised Luxon for leaving the fucking window open for Winston to slither through, and this is because he didn't have the confidence that he had the numbers to do it without them. Okay, and that's why we've ended up with these cocks. I think Chippy is making the same mistake, and admittedly, we are miles out.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not even properly campaigning yet at this point. But I can't sit there and go, yes, what a principled position he's taken, when Winston has just been sledging him, using the rhetoric that he's been using the divisive language about segments of the New Zealand population that Hipkins is asking, vote for me, I want my turn at the wheel, I'll look after you. I don't think people are going to look at him and go, oh, so he'll work with this guy after all of this. Maybe he's not the principled leader that I hope he is. And I'm going to bounce off here the comments of go, oh yeah, I'm perfectly happy being referred to as a democratic socialist or a socialist or whatever. Then do some socialism. like that's my yardstick. You have an MP in your front row that is quite happy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For the benefit of the people at home. So here we are. Point of order. Point of order.
Point of order, Kieran McNaughton.
We are an urgency, Madam Speaker, and it's going to be a long time. We may as well cut it off at the pass that it is unparliamentary to call another member a communist. Right. Yeah, I am a socialist, and I'm proud of it. Yeah. There you go. Thank you very much.
Although I do remember when we talked to him, he didn't walk that back, but he said there was some more nuance to it than just black and white. But point taken.
I won't hear of the nuance.
Okay, here's the question, right? Let me ask you this. If Chippy said this, understanding Winston Peters, and look, I'm not actually fighting for Winston Peters to stay in the park, but I'm interested as to how it's going to pan out. If Chippy said this now, like today, understanding who Winston Peters is today, I would never be in government with the Winston Peters New Zealand First Party that is there today and what they stand for. That probably means there's no chance we will work with them, but things sometimes change. If there was some kind of change, who knows? I'm not going to rule them out yet, but as of today, I couldn't imagine having them in government because of how they stand for today. Would that be enough, or do you think an absolute no is the only way?
Even that is flip-floppy, I'm not closing any of the doors, is a stronger answer than he gave on that. Like, I would have even preferred of like, you know what, Guyon? I don't want to be drawn on it. I don't even want to think about Winston Peters. Let's see if he lasts.
I think his clock's about up, isn't it? Isn't his clock ready to be just about done?
Let's see him use the same language that he has used for Te Pāti Māori against New Zealand First, and watch them all drop dead from aneurysms all at once. Can you imagine that? Oh, no, look, I'm not going to be drawn on going into a coalition with New Zealand First. I really don't think they're ready to be part of a functional government. Holy shit. I'd hear the blast from here.
Yeah. I just thought because we were getting, like, thinking about Winston Peters and Labour together, we needed some kind of palate cleanser just to come in beneath us and look as cute as humanly possible. That does not look good on Twitter, by the way. All I can see is her back legs. So that doesn't work.
Oh, well, that's it.
Twitter's gone. Done with Twitter. Look, there's one more part of this, and let's just speak to it super quickly. You know, we don't take too much credence about polls when they come out. But there was one out today, a new poll. Centre right has the lead. Labour, the largest party, Seymour sees a boost. And you can see there's this, you know, if you go from back here through for National, there is definitely, not a large one, but there is definitely a trend down. And Labour is definitely a trend up. But to be fair, neither of them are huge. And at the moment, you know, the Labour got 2.1%, and this is off the back of the capital gains tax announcement. So talking about, is this thing something that the public will vote for or not, no one can say that's the only reason they got the bump. But after that announcement, they got a bump of 2.1%, and they're at 33.3. That's what? That's 2.9% above. Does it tell us what the margin of error is? Margin of error is normally about 3%, so it's pretty close to margin of error. So, you know, that's That's not insignificant. Not insignificant. Preferred Prime Minister, basically neck and neck, as you can see. Projected seats. Yeah, and this is why I said the other day, and I don't want to, give the right the answer, but if they stick with Luxon for the next 12 months, this is a coin toss, right? It's a coin toss. If they get rid of Luxon and they bring in someone like, I guess the Bish or maybe Stanford, they're probably the two leading candidates. I think the ball goes back in their court somewhat. So there we go. Latest polling, and then remember that's from David Farrar. So not suggesting that it's a biased one way, but if it was going to be biased, that would be biased to the Conservative, to the right side, and it's still got Labour ahead. Not suggesting that it is, though. By the way, just saying if it was, certainly wouldn't be biased the other way.
Here comes Chewie's traditional. We're doing a poll disclaimer. Polls suck and are lame. The Taxpayers Union is not a union and also sucks and is lame. And courier polls can get in the sea. But what is important? If
But let's talk about it now.
And look, if it was converted into seats in the House, splooge everywhere.
Notice we didn't do that.
The only thing that matters when we look at polls is a trend. A trend over various polls will tell us the truth. A lot of the questions that come in these polls are just bullshit. But at this stage, for preferred Prime Minister, you have one of the most out of touch, unrelatable, inauthentic leaders that we have had in my fucking lifetime.
Yeah.
And if you can't move the needle enough, now remember, there's always going to be a third of the people that vote left and a third of the people that vote right, and there's a third in the middle that'll move around. At the moment, that third can't pick between Chippy and Christopher Luxon. If I was Chippy, I'd be worried about that.
Well, if I was Luxon, I'd be more worried. First term Prime Minister should be giving out tax cuts, giving landlords money back, should be a lot further on than the opposition guy who got basically tossed out of government, so the narrative would say, because everyone was so sick of him and he can't form a gap from him. I'd be more worried if I was Luxon than if I was Chippy.
Yeah, you've got to move the needle on this, dude. Like, you've got to see what people don't like about Christopher Luxon and then be all of those things.
Yeah.
Be the opposite of him. And this is the thing, when the media comes to you and makes a comment, God help you if you're making a comment that echoes what Luxon has said. Because it's just like, oh yeah, cool, the same person in blue and red.
Yeah. 100%. Although that does happen, then of course you open up on the left-hand side, you open up to the Greens and to Party Māori, which I think many who are watching right now mightn't be upset about. Seems we have a strong skew to the slightly further left rather than the centre left.
Yeah, and look, thank God we live in a country that doesn't have first past the post, that doesn't have just two parties that you can pick from. Okay, so you can look at the UK and you can look at the US and go, well, thankfully, if we don't like how the biggest leftist party is presenting itself or the policies that they're bringing to the table, you can vote for a party that's further to the left than them. And that's a good thing.